Imagine you buy a car for $35,000.
You know the monthly payment.
You know roughly how much gas it takes.
You probably even know what your insurance costs. So you think you know what the car costs you. But there is a problem. The number sitting on the window sticker is not the real price of owning a car. The real price is the payment you make every month, plus the money the car quietly takes from you in ways that barely feel like spending. Depreciation. Interest. Insurance. Maintenance. Registration. Repairs. Parking.
And something even more expensive that almost nobody puts on the calculator, the money that could have been growing somewhere else. And by the end of this video, you may look at your driveway very differently. Welcome to Money Explained Differently, where we uncover the hidden side of money and explain the financial stories most people never see.
Now imagine a typical American worker named Daniel. Daniel gets a new job. The commute is long. Public transportation is limited. He has some savings, a steady income, and he wants something reliable. He walks into a dealership and finds a car he likes.
The price is $35,000. The salesperson makes the numbers sound manageable.
A down payment. A monthly payment. A warranty. Maybe an upgraded trim. Daniel signs the paperwork and drives home feeling like he just bought transportation. But psychologically, something interesting has happened.
Daniel thinks he bought a $35,000 car.
Financially, he didn't.
He bought a long-term stream of expenses.
And that distinction matters.
Because when most people calculate whether they can afford a car, they ask one question.
Can I afford the monthly payment? That may be the most dangerous question in the entire process. Because a $600 monthly payment can feel affordable. But a $600 payment is only one line on the bill.
The car may also require insurance, fuel, maintenance, registration, repairs, parking, and financing costs.
And here is where the story gets more interesting. The biggest expense may happen before Daniel even drives 100 miles. The cost you can't see, depreciation.
A car is strange because you can spend tens of thousands of dollars on it, and then watch part of that value disappear simply because you drove it off the lot and became the second owner.
That's depreciation.
Depreciation is the loss in value of an asset over time. And with cars, it can be substantial.
Let's make this simple.
Suppose Daniel buys a vehicle for $35,000.
A few years later, the car might be worth considerably less.
The exact amount depends on the model, mileage, condition, demand, and many other factors.
But the important idea is this. Daniel isn't only spending money to use the car.
He is also consuming the car's value. And because depreciation doesn't arrive as a monthly bill, people often ignore it. There is no notification saying, "Congratulations! Your car just cost you another $150 in lost value this month." You simply see the car sitting in the driveway. That's why depreciation is so powerful psychologically. The money disappears without feeling like spending. And there is another problem. People often replace cars before they've extracted the full economic value from them. They trade in. They upgrade. They move into a newer model. Then the cycle starts again. A new loan. A new wave of depreciation. A new set of fees. A new monthly payment. And suddenly, the person who thought they were done with car payments is right back into another one. But depreciation isn't the only cost hiding behind the monthly payment. The bank gets paid too. Let's say Daniel finances part of his $35,000 purchase. Now there are really two products involved. The first is the car. The second is the loan. And the loan has a price. Interest. This is where consumers sometimes make a subtle mistake. They focus on the monthly payment instead of the total amount paid over the life of the loan. A longer loan can make a vehicle appear more affordable because the payment is spread across more months. But stretching the payment doesn't make the car cheaper. It simply changes the timing. And depending on the interest rate and loan length, it can increase how much Daniel ultimately pays for the privilege of owning it. This creates a strange financial illusion. The car feels affordable because the monthly payment fits into the budget. But the total cost may be much larger than the price people originally had in mind. And here is the part that connects car ownership to the rest of your financial life. That money doesn't just come out of the car budget. It competes with everything else. Your emergency fund. Your retirement account. Your investment portfolio. Your mortgage. Your children's expenses. Your ability to handle an unexpected medical bill. Every dollar committed to a car is a dollar that cannot simultaneously do something else. That brings us to one of the least visible costs of all. The opportunity cost. This sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Opportunity cost means what you give up when you choose one use for your money instead of another. Suppose you spend an extra $300 a month on a more expensive vehicle. That $300 doesn't disappear into a black hole. You are choosing the car over something else. Maybe saving. Maybe investing. Maybe paying down high-interest debt. Maybe building cash reserves. And that matters because money has the ability to grow over time. A dollar used today cannot also be invested today. So the true cost of an expensive car isn't only what appears on the receipt. It's also the future financial growth you gave up. This doesn't mean buying a car is a bad decision. Far from it. A reliable car can be incredibly valuable. It can help you get to work. It can make childcare possible. It can expand your job opportunities. It can allow a family to live farther from expensive urban areas. For many Americans, a vehicle isn't a luxury. It's infrastructure. The problem isn't owning a car. The problem is believing the sticker price represents the total economic cost. And that's where the next expense becomes important. Insurance doesn't care about your budget. Daniel has his car. Now comes insurance. Unlike some optional purchases, insurance is a recurring cost that doesn't disappear just because you're trying to save money somewhere else. And the price can depend on many factors. Location. Driving history. Vehicle type. Coverage choices. Age. Claims history. And other underwriting factors. The point isn't that insurance is unfair. The point is that it is part of the ownership equation. And because you don't see it on the vehicle's price tag, it often gets mentally separated from the car. Imagine someone saying, "My car only costs me $500 a month." Then you discover they pay another significant amount for insurance and fuel. Suddenly that $500 isn't really the monthly cost of transportation. It's simply the loan payment. This distinction matters when people compare cars. A more expensive vehicle can affect more than your purchase price. It may also influence insurance, repairs, tires, fuel consumption, and resale value. So the smartest question isn't, "How much does this car cost?" It's, "How much does this car cost me to own?" That question opens a much bigger conversation. Then life starts charging you. The car is on the road. Miles accumulate. And this is when the little costs begin. Oil changes. Tires. Brakes. Wipers. Battery replacement. Routine service. Unexpected repairs. Maybe a cracked windshield. Maybe a warning light. Maybe a mechanical problem that appears at exactly the wrong time. Each expense may feel manageable by itself. That's what makes them easy to ignore. A $40 expense doesn't feel like a financial crisis. Neither does a $120 repair. Neither does replacing a tire. But car ownership is a series of small financial decisions interrupted by occasional large ones. And the longer you own the vehicle, the more those expenses become part of normal life.
This is one reason a car can be financially deceptive. The expenses are fragmented.
Your mortgage arrives as one large payment. Your rent arrives as one obvious payment. Your car costs arrive from many directions.
A payment here. Insurance there. Fuel every week. Maintenance every few months. Registration once or twice a year. Repairs when something breaks.
Because the expenses are scattered, the brain tends to underestimate them.
But what about gas? Fuel is probably the cost people think about most. And yet even this can be misleading.
Most drivers think about fuel in terms of the price per gallon.
But the real question is, how much does your lifestyle require you to drive?
A car that gets excellent fuel economy may still become expensive if you drive huge distances every year. And a vehicle that looks affordable on paper can become costly if it is used constantly.
Think about the hidden relationship between work and driving. You take the job. The job is farther away.
The commute becomes longer.
The longer commute means more fuel. More miles. More maintenance. More tire wear. More depreciation. More time. That's right. Time is another hidden cost. If Daniel spends an extra hour every workday commuting, the car isn't just consuming money. It's consuming a portion of his life.
And while time is difficult to put into a spreadsheet, it has economic value.
That extra hour could have been spent working on a side business. Exercising. Cooking. Being with family. Sleeping. Resting.
The financial cost of transportation and the lifestyle cost of transportation are often connected. And this is where cars become more than a purchase. They shape the architecture of your life.
The parking trap. Now let's talk about something people often forget entirely. Parking. In some parts of America, parking is effectively another recurring transportation expense. Maybe you pay at work. Maybe you pay at home. Maybe you pay when you go downtown. Maybe you rent a garage.
Maybe your building charges extra for a parking space. Or maybe you simply spend enormous amounts of time searching for free parking. Individually, these costs can look trivial. Together, they become part of the economics of owning a vehicle. And the interesting thing is that the car is often occupying expensive real estate.
At home. At work. At stores. At restaurants. Everywhere. Most people never include that space in their car calculation.
But if your household needs a garage, a parking permit, or a dedicated space because you own a vehicle, that is part of the transportation system you're paying for.
Now the picture is getting very different.
We started with a $35,000 car. But we've added financing, depreciation, insurance, fuel, maintenance, repairs, registration, parking, and time.
And there is still one major question. Is buying still better than alternatives? This is where balance matters. Cars are expensive, but that doesn't automatically mean buying one is a mistake.
For some people, owning a car can be the most practical financial choice. Maybe you live in a suburban or rural area.
Maybe your job requires driving. Maybe public transportation is unreliable. Maybe you have children. Maybe you frequently travel long distances.
Maybe the alternative would require expensive ride-sharing or lost work time. In those cases, the car can be an economically rational tool.
The goal isn't to demonize cars.
The goal is to make the invisible costs visible.
And this is where people sometimes make another mistake.
They compare a car payment against nothing.
Instead, they should compare the total cost of transportation against alternatives. What would transportation cost without a car? What would commuting cost? How much time would you lose? Would you need ride-share services? Could you use public transportation? Could you live closer to work? Could you work remotely? Could you share one vehicle between two people instead of owning two? These questions change the calculation. What do you think? Is a car in America mainly a financial burden, or is it an essential tool that pays for itself through freedom and convenience? Share your opinion in the comments. Because there isn't one answer for every household. The bigger American problem.
But there is a deeper reason car ownership can become so expensive.
The modern American economy often encourages consumers to think about transportation in terms of monthly affordability. Dealerships advertise monthly payments. Manufacturers promote upgrades. Consumers compare features.
Lenders make longer repayment periods possible. And people gradually become comfortable paying more for convenience, technology, and status.
None of that is automatically wrong. Businesses are doing what businesses do. They're trying to sell products. Consumers are trying to buy what they value. But when the monthly payment becomes the center of the decision, the total cost can disappear from view. A buyer says, "I can handle $700 a month." But the better question is, how much of my annual income am I willing to devote to transportation? That's a very different question.
And once you start thinking in annual and lifetime costs, the psychology changes.
A car isn't just a $700 payment.
It's an asset that loses value, a machine that requires maintenance, a service that requires fuel and insurance, and a commitment that may last for years.
That is the hidden cost. Not one giant surprise. Hundreds of small financial decisions connected to one purchase. So how do you think about a car differently? Instead of asking, "Can I make the payment?" Ask, "What is the total cost of owning this car?"
Instead of looking only at the purchase price, think about depreciation. Instead of looking only at the loan payment, look at the total interest. Instead of thinking about gas alone, think about fuel plus maintenance plus tires plus repairs. Instead of asking whether a car is expensive, compare the cost with the alternatives available to you.
And most importantly, think about what your car is preventing your money from doing. Because that is often the cost people calculate last. A car can provide freedom. But it can also create a financial commitment that follows you for years. And sometimes the expensive part isn't the car itself. It's everything else you could have done with the money.
Daniel may have started this story thinking he bought a $35,000 vehicle. Years later, he may realize he actually bought something much larger.
A transportation system. A loan. A stream of operating costs. A depreciating asset.
And a long-term commitment that influenced where he lived, how far he worked, how much he saved, and how much money remained available for the rest of his life. That is why the hidden cost of a car is so important.
You don't pay it all at once. You pay it in pieces. Month after month. Year after year. And because each piece feels manageable, the total can remain invisible. Until you finally add it all up. So the next time you see a car advertised for a surprisingly affordable monthly payment, pause for a second. Don't ask only, "Can I afford this payment?" Ask, "What will this car actually cost me?" Because the difference between those two questions can be worth thousands of dollars. And sometimes, it can change the direction of your entire financial life. If you want to discover more hidden truths about money, subscribe to Money Explained Differently. We explore the financial stories behind the decisions that shape everyday life.